Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2019 action horror, I suppose is the best way to describe it, Wolf, a film that is co-written and directed by Stuart Brennan, who also stars in the film, as well as Mark Paul Wake, George McCluskey, who co-wrote the film with Stuart Brennan, Victoria Morrison, Austin Cayley and Jennifer Jones. Now, this is a low-budget UK-based action horror, and it focuses on a Roman battalion in Britannia, essentially searching for some lost Roman soldiers, and they are obviously at war with those in Britain at that time, and they essentially stumble across what seems to be this wild animal that decides to hunt them and try and take them out one at a time, and it is up for this Roman battalion to try and find out what happened to the lost troops, but also try and stay alive, basically. Right, so a very, very simple story here. Romans versus what you would guess, and I'm not really spoiling anything here, what you would guess is werewolves, and what you actually get is not exactly what you would consider a traditional werewolf, but maybe a more grounded approach to werewolves, I guess. Now, a lot of low-budget films, I think, make mistakes is they try and be overly complicated, they try and have convoluted plots to try and cover over the fact that they're low budget sometimes, and it ends up highlighting it even more. What I liked about this film was its simplicity. It's all in the outdoors, so it's pretty scenery. The cinematography I actually thought was pretty good. I read a review on IMDb, and someone said the cinematography was terrible. I'm sorry, but I don't know what film you're watching. I actually thought it was quite nicely done, the cinematography here, and it was pretty to look at for the most part. But the simplicity of this film is its biggest strength. It doesn't have a budget, really, so it can't show you anything. So some of the best films of this sort, you think over the years of all these films where you don't see the creature or the monster or whatever it is until far later into the film. Some of the best, you know what I mean, you've got your Predators, you've got your Jaws. You didn't see an awful lot of Jaws, and all these great films where you don't see anything until you have to see it. Now this film does it because they can't afford to show you anything else, and it really, really worked for the film, because it worked on the psychology of these soldiers, these hardened veterans that have been in many, many battles and wars, that don't really feel an awful lot of fear. Very disciplined, they follow orders, even though they might argue amongst themselves a little bit, which you see a lot of in this film. And you see the psychology of it, how they're slowly, getting picked off, and how they're slowly losing their confidence, and how they're slowly starting to realise that there's something, a little bit more supernatural going on here possibly, and it's not just savages hunting them down, it might be something else. And that really, really worked for the film. The dialogue for the most part was okay. I did feel early into the film, I thought the dialogue was okay, but the line delivery felt a little bit off at times, but I don't remember, as I kept watching it, that being a problem, so I don't know if it was filmed in sequence and the early scenes didn't necessarily work with the line delivery, but it certainly, as the film progressed, I didn't feel as though it was a problem at all. I was actually quite impressed with the swordplay as well in this film. A lot of low budget films, when you see the sword play, it's very low impact, it doesn't feel like they're hitting anything, and it's pretty cheap. Here you actually get a battle early on in the film where they're battling, and so there's lots of sword fighting going on. It feels quite impactful and brutal, and there's bits of blood flying around here and there, and also later into the film, it's when they're trying to battle these creatures and things, it all felt pretty good in regards to the action and the sword play and things like that, and the costumes felt pretty genuine, if a little bit clean and tidy here and there, but it felt pretty genuine. And if you can get over the fact that most of them all have British accents, apart from, I think there's one in there who's from Germania, who's got a bit of a German accent, things like that, and for the most part they've all got British accents or English accents. it's okay, you know what I mean. I could probably point to many films like Centurion and things where they all have British accents. It's alright, you know what I mean. And it builds tension pretty well, this film, you know what I mean. The scenes where they have to, like, you know, put in these formations to defend themselves, and there's things charging past them and stalking them and hunting them, and it builds the tension pretty well because you don't know what's going on. All you see is little flashes and growls and howls and things like that. So it manages to work pretty well with what it's got, this film, and I do applaud them for it. I did think the ending was a little bit abrupt. I would have liked a little bit more at the end. And I don't want to talk about what I would have liked to have seen because it would spoil it, but I knew in my mind what I think would have been a really great ending, and maybe they just couldn't afford to do anything else. It felt a little bit abrupt, the ending. But it was a simple concept. Romans versus werewolves, or their version of werewolves. Who doesn't want to see that? You know, it's like Dog Soldiers, you know, soldiers versus werewolves. Romans versus werewolves. This is one of those films that I actually quite enjoyed. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, but could you imagine this with a bigger budget? Romans versus werewolves, like with a big budget. Wow, that would be barnstorming fun, I would suggest. So this film was a simple concept, and it was made well, and it didn't have any delusions of grandeur, and I found it quite entertaining. So that's why I've given it a 7 out of 10. I might be being a little bit generous there, but I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was nicely done, and it didn't overly complicate a very simple story, and it made it more watchable because of that. So that's my review for Wolf, a quite nice, tidy film. Give it a go. I don't think you'll be too disappointed as long as you lower your expectations a little bit, and don't be expecting something like Dog Soldiers because it's not on that kind of level. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you next time for more reviews on Screen Stars.